Hey guys, Marco the dog trainer here. Today we're going to do a quick video on the best crate for a boxer. Now when it comes to picking out an appropriate crate for really any dog, the first thing we kind of want to be thinking about is, do we know anything about the breeding or bloodline? How big mom and dad were? Are we planning on getting a male or a female? Because all these different things are going to give us a pretty good idea of how big we can expect our boxer to get. And that's obviously going to be really helpful when it comes to picking out an appropriate size. Now, in my dog training career, most of the boxers I've worked with, I was recommending one of these two models. We've got the PetMate Sky Kennel 48-inch and the PetMate Sky Kennel 40-inch. Now, we're going to get into a little bit more depth here in a second, but before we do that, I also wanted to set up the ICrate by Midwest Homes for Pets. That's kind of the wire crate alternative to the PetMate 48-inch model. Now, even though I do truly recommend the PetMate kennels, I do think there is kind of a time and a place for wire crates. There are times that they can be really convenient. I personally only use a wire crate when I'm traveling. Because if I'm loading up a crate for each of my dogs into my truck, they just take up way less space when they're folded up into kind of like a little suitcase kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is, in the video description, I'm going to put links to the two main PetMate Sky Kennels that I recommend. But then lower down in the description, I'll also put links as kind of an alternative recommendation of the wire crate equivalent. So that way, if for whatever reason you're just more of a wire crate kind of person, or you think that's going to fit your needs better, I'll make sure that I've got you covered either way. But now, because these are really the two I'm recommending, that's what we're going to focus on for the most part in this video. So the PetMate Sky Kennel 48-inch model, what they mean by 48 inches is the distance from front to back. And that's an important dimension for us to know, because that's going to tell us, based on how long our boxer is, are they going to be able to lay down in here comfortably without having to contort themselves, okay? So let's say the first variable that we're thinking about when it comes to our dog's size versus a crate is their length and height. Okay, now the second variable is going to be our dog's weight. So the manufacturer recommendation for the PetMate Sky Kennel 48 is going to be 90 to 125 pounds, like pretty big dogs. Okay, now if we go down one size to the 40-inch, that's going to be more for boxers between 70 and 90 pounds. Now, if you end up checking out the links online, they do have all of the manufacturer's measurements and recommendations to help point you in the right direction, but those are really the two main aspects that we're thinking of. Now, let's take a closer look at both of these models in particular so I can walk you through everything you need to know. Okay, so both of these models are pretty much exactly the same outside of the size, but we should talk about some slight differences that may push you more towards one or the other. Okay, so both of these models have got this kind of upgraded lock. I refer to it as a dual lock. I don't really know what it's called, but we have to press this lock in order to unlock this one. Okay, and what that does is it makes it a lot more difficult for a dog to break it or open it from the inside. Okay, now the other thing that it does is that this type of lock is actually going to send like a securing pole into 4 different locations, where a lot of the other plastic crates that I've seen, and even smaller models of the Sky Kennels, they only secure in 2 locations, making it way easier to break out of. Okay. Now, if we're talking about just a regular old dog that isn't trying to break out or anything like that, this will probably work fine. Okay, now when it comes to like true separation anxiety or something like that, this model is going to be better than a lot of the other plastic crates that I've seen, and it's going to be better than the smaller models of the Sky Kennel, but I'm not going to say it's escape proof. I've definitely seen dogs with separation anxiety break out of this one too. So anytime that I'm nervous about a dog breaking out of a crate, or they've got a little bit of a history of breaking out of crates, I'm typically going to recommend the 48-inch model, where even though it's not marketed as escape proof, I've never seen a dog break out of it. And I've worked with a lot of separation anxiety situations. So I think it's a combination of that really secure door and lock like this one, And it also has some of the thickest plastic I've ever seen on a crate. So I think that's why I've never seen a dog successfully break out of it. Now, again, not necessarily marketed as escape proof, but if you're looking at like true escape proof crates, they are easily in the $1,000 range. So if you're looking for one last like plastic type of option before you start dishing out the big bucks, this is probably going to be your best bet. So even if our dog's a little bit small, if they've got a history of breaking out of crates, I'd probably just upgrade to the big one. Okay, now why don't we take apart one of these crates so I can kind of show you what it looks like to put these things back together, and then we'll probably wrap up from there. Both of these crates are basically three main pieces. We've got a door, the top piece, and the bottom piece, and we basically just bolt them together. Okay. Now, a lot of times when I'm storing these crates or traveling with them, I just put the top piece in the bottom and the door in there because it just takes up less space. And if I'm bringing a few of these crates, I just kind of stack them inside of each other. But now when it comes to putting them together, it is really not difficult. We're just going to put the top piece on the bottom, and we just have to make sure that all the holes are lined up properly. Okay, and then the door, we can actually decide which way we want the door to open, which is actually really, really nice depending on what your house is set up like. Okay, but we just have to make that choice before we start putting everything together. So we're just going to do it this way. And on a side note, while we're talking about the door, I should talk about one of my favorite things about these crates is that we can buy replacement doors or these metal side vents. We can buy replacements for them. So that way, let's say 7, 8, 9 years down the road, the plastic looks totally fine, but our metal's getting a little rusty from when we're cleaning it and stuff like that. We can actually just buy a replacement, like replacement door, replacement vent. And that can be a really inexpensive way to add to the lifespan of these crates, because obviously that's a lot cheaper than buying multiple new crates just because the door is a little rusty. But that was just a side note that I figured I'd bring up. Now, as far as putting this together with the bolts, really, really easy. Okay, so you don't need a wrench or anything like that. We just kind of go around the edge here, and we're just going to screw these on. Now, when it comes to just a regular dog, I'm usually only going to put maybe 5 or 6 in around the perimeter here. But we can put up to 11 bolts to hold the crate together. Okay, so if I were working with the dog that I was really afraid of them escaping the crate, then I'm probably going to put all 11 in. Now, as far as the 48-inch model goes, we can actually put 17 bolts around the perimeter to hold it together. So, again, I only usually use 4 or 5 for my dogs because they're not trying to get out of there. But when I was working with dogs that were actively trying to get out, I put all 17 in. Okay, now outside of that, I think that's pretty much everything you guys need to know about these PetMate Sky Kennels. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.